So nowhere to go there with the arms of the train crossing there, and still he just doesn't seem like he has any idea where he's going.
You are watching the KTLA 5 News at 11. I'm Micah Ullman along with Cher Calvin and Gil Levis in Sky 5 watching this truck that has been stolen and is trying to evade law enforcement. This was initiated by the LAPD's Foothill Division and has moved across the San Gabriel Valley, has been since taken over by the CHP, at which point they backed off, is still being tracked by the LAPD airship overhead, and very erratic driving on surface streets tonight.
Obviously also being tracked by Gil Levis in Sky 5, and this was originally a call for a want for a cold plate, and Gil, that cold plate coming back as a Toyota, when in fact what we are watching right now, and overhead a Ford Raptor. So this blacked out car making its way through surface streets. At one point, Gil, you were saying that CHP clocking this on the 605 freeway at almost 150 miles per hour. So a dangerous pursuit, and now making its way through surface streets. Gil?
Boy, yeah, look at the speeds here, 70 miles an hour. Again, we have some weather here that's making the picture look a little hazy, but, you know, the driver, desperate to get away, blacked out, still blacked out, making it difficult for other drivers to see him, pedestrians as well. But yes, the CHP took over from the LAPD Foothill Division officers that went into pursuit. It was up in the San Fernando Valley where this started, and ended up going southbound on the 101 freeway. Here's a northbound turn across the tracks, and here's the first officer that we're seeing. He went across wrong side of the road there. You see that move? That unit is now going to pursue him now. So we'll see. We got a Monrovia. It's a Monrovia police officer that is now in pursuit of him northbound, back under the 210 freeway, back towards the foothills here again. So Monrovia PD now engaging in the pursuit. Lights and sirens, at least one unit that's behind him right now. But on California northbound through Huntington, and the driver, look at the speeds here, 70 miles an hour back into the foothills.
And we've been wondering out loud for some time how long it would take before Monrovia PD got behind this suspect, and we are just now seeing that happen. He's spent a lot of time within the Monrovia city limits here, driving up and down streets up against the foothills, back down toward the 210 freeway, and now you see moving back away from the freeway at very high speeds. And mind you, he was driving like this when there was no law enforcement behind him. Now we have a black and white with Monrovia PD lights and sirens behind this suspect. Again, cold plates coming back. A stolen truck out of the LAPD's Foothill Division has covered a lot of ground here in a relatively short amount of time across the San Gabriel Valley. And this driver almost, you know, hard to get into the mind of somebody who behaves like this, but you want to say potentially impaired the way this person is driving, particularly when they didn't have any law enforcement behind them. But running red lights, I mean, we've counted dozens of instances where this driver's gone through red lights in intersections. One situation where a pedestrian was in the crosswalk and was nearly hit. So this driver is obviously moving with reckless abandon and making every effort to get away from law enforcement, and now has just that, law enforcement on the ground behind him once again.
Yeah, it's nice to see that there's law enforcement. Gil, if you don't mind, can we take a look at what we have here? Just one unit so far pursuing this Ford Raptor.
Yeah, let me.
And going through another residential neighborhood here. Yeah, okay, go ahead. All right, so he's a little bit farther behind than, he's not really on his tail here. Okay, never mind.
Right.
Yeah, no, I see. You know, again, he's
may have
blacked
backed out of it because of speed.
Yeah. Blacked out going through these residential neighborhoods again, and it looks like he's going northbound again toward the foothills. Is that what's happening?
Let's see. This is westbound on Hillcrest, and he's blacked out. He's under a tree, and he's going to go southbound there on a small street, and that is Myrtle. So he's southbound now, Myrtle. We'll look for that Monrovia PD officer, see if he re-engages here. But they're listening. They're listening to the airship. They're hearing the position. They're trying to get their units in position. So maybe they'll set up a spike strip once this vehicle comes back southbound and more into some busier intersections. But you see some people coming out of their homes, coming down their side or their driveway to see what's going on. He is southbound on Myrtle here, and slowing down a little bit. Let me come out wider so we can see what he's coming up on here, but not a whole lot as far as traffic. But we're getting back into some of the busier streets here. Let me come wide. There's a unit right there. So that unit's hearing him, but now he's behind him. He's going to make a westbound turn, and he's going to be going away from that unit. That unit should be hanging a U-turn right now and getting right back into position. So that might be the officer that was pursuing. Here he goes, wrong side of the road, and wow, Foothill. We got 3 units. My pilot, Jim Woodeman, is telling me right now that there's 3 units. I can't see it out of the helicopter right now. There's the airship coming through our shot. Look at the speeds here. He's got 3 units behind him. He really is ramping it up and trying to get away any way this driver can. Wrong side of the road towards other cars. Look at that move.
Oh,
and fortunately, not a lot of traffic coming at him right now, but there's one car right there. He just, wow, threaded the needle between that car and the one that was going the same direction as him. But yeah, he's really ramping it up here with speeds of 90 miles an hour on Foothill Boulevard here through Monrovia.
And that much more dangerous when law enforcement engages on the ground with lights and sirens moving westbound on Foothill Boulevard, essentially running a parallel to the 210 freeway. So the option is there for the suspect to get back on the freeway. He can also continue as he's doing along Foothill Boulevard and carry it all the way into Pasadena if he wants to. Very, very dangerous driving like this with lights out at this speed at night through the intersections like this. Law enforcement was behind him. Hard to say if are they able to pick up any ground and get any closer? I mean, he's moving at an incredibly high speed here, or was.
Yeah, Monrovia PD, they just pulled off the pursuit because of the rate of speed. They shut down their lights and sirens. Now the driver pulling away from them. So at this point, he's in Arcadia now. So we'll see if Arcadia PD picks up the chase and tries to engage. But the driver, knowing that he sees the units getting in position, lighting them up, he just hits the gas. He seems to not care about anything in his way, and that's the problem. Officers don't want to put anybody in danger, so it's better to just pull off, let this driver maybe get away, but keep the airship overhead to track it. And at some point, he's going to run out of fuel or run out of patience and want to pull over, and maybe that's when they can nab him. But they don't want to. They certainly don't want to cause an accident with another vehicle because this driver decides to go 90 or 100 miles an hour on surface streets.
Certainly, and it's, as you saw right there, they engaged for just a few minutes, and the speeds accelerated to 90 miles per hour on Foothill Boulevard, and he was splitting lanes, and it was pretty scary, almost going on the opposite side of the road. And you just want to make sure that even at this hour on a Wednesday night, that you never know who's going to be walking in the street and not seeing this coming at them. So especially because he doesn't have his lights on. So best to play it safe and hang back for a minute until maybe perhaps they can have a better plan, maybe even a spike strip.
Yeah, that would be great. Here we are. He slowed down quite a bit because those lights and sirens disappeared in his rearview mirror. So he's now, well, let me get in tighter and get you better speed here. He's ramped it up a little bit. He got down to about 45 miles an hour once they pulled back. So he's speeding up a little bit more now. We're in east past Pasadena now, still on, that's Foothill and Rosemead that he's just passed westbound on Foothill. So we're going to continue to watch and see who might come in and try to take this over. Eventually you'll be into Pasadena here shortly, and maybe Pasadena PD will pick up the pursuit.
You have to know they know he's headed their way. They're all listening to this and alerting their colleagues in neighboring communities that this dangerous suspect is on the move westbound on Foothill Boulevard into the Pasadena area, and now Sierra Madre Villa and northbound, Gil?
Northbound. Yeah, northbound, Micah. Just turned, we're getting into some weather here, unfortunately. We'll try to get lower and get out of this cloud. But yeah, looks like he might have stopped or maybe U-turned, trying to follow that nice and light. He's on. Okay, there he is. He's eastbound or westbound on Sierra, and he's going to go right turn southbound back towards Foothill. So very hard to see. You can see him now. He's blacked out, very difficult in these streets here, but the airship's still keeping an eye on him, still calling the pursuit, and we'll see what he does when he gets over here to back to Foothill.
Yeah, well, hopefully at one point he decides to just give up, you know, and make life easier for everybody. But at this point, you know, he's continuing to flee and trying his best to blend into the night with his Ford Raptor and no lights. But now he's got a freeway over here, and you know, you wonder if he's going to get on that and CHP will get on him.
Yeah, that would be beneficial to see CHP pick it up if that's possible. You know, they will track at all speeds. They will stay with the vehicle at all speeds. The only reason they pulled off on the 605 southbound is because they got into a cone zone. They had Caltrans workers, and this driver decided to go right through the cone zone into where the workers were working. And CHP said, no, we're not going to follow. We're going to pull off. We don't want to risk those Caltrans workers out there on the freeway. And so he was able to get some distance between him and the CHP.
He keeps wanting to come back northbound toward the foothills. I notice he'll slow down and look up a road, doesn't like what he sees and keeps going. But the pressure for him is to get northbound, it would seem. And it's going to be more and more of a challenge as he gets into Pasadena here. He'll move then toward Altadena, and the situation there. Now again, he wants to come northbound, and he makes that move up here, moving again toward the foothills in the Pasadena area. What is the motivation beyond trying to get away? What is it he's looking to do? He wants to be up in the foothills, and again, you have to believe he wants to jump out of that truck up in a more rural area as he continues his push northbound here, and it looks like he may be on Altadena Drive, Gil, moving northbound. As law enforcement again is tracking him from the air only. Monrovia PD was there for a time, and you saw what happened in just a few brief moments of units behind him on the ground. They put their lights and sirens on, and suddenly he's going close to 100 miles an hour on surface streets. And once they back off, you see him slow down a little bit. So it appears as though at this point law enforcement is content to track this from the air. And they've got all the time and resources they need. This suspect will eventually run out of gas or lose the will to run. And either way, that will spell the end of this situation. But until then, law enforcement will continue to track this from the air. And you can believe there are units on the ground as well in the area, certainly paying attention to the location. And the potential for greater trouble as well, as you have a driver that's moving so quickly on surface streets. We haven't seen his headlights on for the better part of the last hour. He blew through a fence at one point. It looks like he took out his right headlight. So when they do go on, however brief it is, you see just the left headlight on. But he's been driving in the dark, no lights, primarily.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to keep an eye on this from Sky 5 and also from our assignment desk, and we'll let you know if anything transpires here. And again, we've been following this for the last, maybe 45 minutes or so. And at this point, no units behind this Ford Raptor that came back with cold plates as he's making his way through this community. If you are in these communities that he's been through, please be mindful. If you do hear those helicopters, make sure that you're keeping your family safe and that everything is locked and so that if he footbails, he doesn't make it into your home.
We will come back to this as warranted. In the meantime, other news at